Here's what's next on the Nice Guys on Business.
The real problem was a lack of leadership, a lack of courage to really put the customer first and to push messages that are helpful over promotional. And so it's a leadership gap. And so, that led me into this real journey that I'm still on today in trying to solve for entrepreneurs and leaders of how do you resist our own natural tendencies to want to promote ourselves.
Hey, it's John Lee Dumas, and you're listening to the nicest guys in podcast land. Get ready as Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner take your business to the next level. This is the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Jim O'Brien? I do opens and closes for 60 fucking episodes of this stupid-ass show, and you can't even remember my goddamn name. Do you think I get paid if I said, and here's your nice guy, Dave Silver? They'd throw me out on my and never look back. They don't pay me enough for this bullshit. Nice Guys in podcast land my ass. I should call John Lee Dumas. I'll bet he appreciates his voiceover talent. Need an education on how to grow your business? The Nice Guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Hey, Nice Guy community. Welcome back. Welcome back. My name is Strickland Bonner. On the other side of the microphone, Mr. Doug Sandler. It is Wednesday. Today we are interviewing Mr. Michael Brenner.
I'm feeling good. We're midweek right now. We're in our stride. We're beyond the shit show that was yesterday's technical errors all the way through. Can you believe all of that shit that went down, Strick?
What, yesterday?
Yeah.
The show yesterday? What a fucking mess. I'd like to say that Michael looks like a pretty straight-laced guy.
No, he's a straight guy, but he came to us through Priscilla McKinney, who is a good friend of ours and from Little Bird Marketing. And we know that Priscilla is she's very similar to us, and that living a slightly off-kilter life in a straight world is definitely the way to go. So I think all of the things, we're still here, and in spite of all the things that happened to us yesterday, I think we rose above it, and I'm ready to come back midweek to finish the week strong, Strick. I mean, we are now, I don't know what episode this is, but it's somewhere around 340 something, I think.
Yeah, you'd think after this many episodes we would have figured it out. And if you listen to yesterday's show, we teased that maybe screw it, we'll just not do anymore. Well, we're back. It's okay. We're not going anywhere, I guess.
No, we had a difficult moment there. It was just challenging. I think technology, I really think that we are at the infancy of all of the great things that technology is actually going to bring to us. And I just think that we just don't have enough of a stronghold on how communication between two people should actually work online. I don't know why this is such a challenge.
Well, Michael runs the Marketing Insider Group.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the things he talks about, content marketing strategies to reach, engage, and convert new customers. And that's really all about communication. I mean, content marketing, it is about what kind of ads do you buy and where, but it's about communication. How do you connect with people and make them want your product or make them realize that they really need your product? It's all communication.
Well, he is a content marketing pro. He's a leadership expert. He is a leader's leader. He'll definitely show us the way. And I had a really good conversation with him. And we didn't even talk about Patreon, did we?
No, not yet. I mean, if you guys want to hear all the backstory and all the interesting stuff that we don't talk about on the show, the pre-show and all that kind of stuff, you can jump on patreon.com/nice guys and make a very small donation, as little as $1 per month, and you can hear all of that great stuff from us.
So before we get to the interview,
I said 5 episodes a week are not enough, right? They want extra bonus.
Yeah, if you really can't get enough of all,
maybe that's the problem. That's why we have not had as many Patreon patrons, because people are like, why the hell would I want even more content from these guys? I already hear them 5 days a week.
Most people, they have 2 commutes a day. They have 2 work and home from work. So I'm thinking that probably 10 episodes a week would probably be enough to really suit anybody. Or do you think every once in a while, I just like this? Do you listen to the radio when you're in the car, or do you sometimes listen just to nothing? Or you silence?
Sometimes. Oh no, there's never silence. It's either listen to the radio or XM or listen to our podcast or somebody else's podcast. Yeah.
No, I oftentimes will catch myself and we live in the DC area, nice guy community. And for me, it oftentimes will be a 30, 40, maybe even a 60-minute commute wherever I'm going, and I spend most of my time in my house. But if I am in my car, I will sometimes get to wherever I'm going. I'm like, I didn't listen to anything, and I so enjoy the silence. I really do like the silence. So anyway, I do spend a bunch of time talking to Michael. One of the things I love most about this interview is I introduced this new section called, and Strick, I don't know if you've even heard any of these. Have you heard the tools, tips, and tricks section of the show?
Oh, sure, yeah, I like it. New questions.
Yeah, some new questions. And
the interview.
The other thing I'm trying to do, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong here. Well, let me finish my thought. So Michael gives some really great tools, some amazing action items in the form of tips, and he has a very interesting life hack or mind hack in the tricks section of the show also. But what I was going to tell you, Strick, is that I've kind of, I don't want to do the same formula every show. I'm thinking that
I'm with you.
Asking the same questions, and we talk about the. I don't want to mention any names, but it rhymes with John Lee Dumas. I don't want to mention any names. I just sometimes what's challenging to me. I was just kidding. JLD, if you're listening to the show, knucklehead, I love you. You know I love you. He doesn't listen to our show.
No, he doesn't listen to our show.
He doesn't. But somebody might know him that listens to our show and say, "Oh, those guys are talking shit about you." I'm like, I don't want to go there. I'm not very formulaic. We've never been very formulaic in our approach. As a matter of fact, I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday that was thinking about joining the C-suite, and part of their conversation with me is, well, what is the formula that? And I'm like, I'm really a very broad brush kind of guy, so I don't really have a formula or a system specifically in place. I can see how it's a great question to ask. But you got the wrong guy answering the question if you want me to, because I'm like, hamina. I don't really know the answer. Yeah. I don't really know it. Anyway, Michael does a really good job of talking about his tools, tips, and tricks that he uses to get through his daily activity. So anyway.
Well, if I could make a suggestion on the not getting too formulaic, you've got a couple of chunk things, right? So now you have tips and tricks. You've got the 5 questions that you ask. Plus you've got put these 4 in order. Yeah. Plus you ask, what kind of phone do you have?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I would think of those as 4 different things and just rotate them. Don't do all 4 of them every time. Do 1 or 2, or sometimes, if the interview went short, okay, so maybe do 3 of them.
Right, exactly.
Long, just pick one and just rotate them.
It's funny you say that, because yesterday I did this interview and she was great. She was a financial planner and she's coming on the show, and the show was going to air in about a month, because we're about 4 or 5, 6 weeks behind in getting stuff out the door. Not because you're slow, but because we have that many in the can. But it was a really good episode, but it was long, and I felt like I can't now go into the let's talk tools, tips and tricks, and then let's do the rapid fire Q&A, and then so I just skipped all of that shit because I was just afraid that people would tune out. And I thought that,
I totally think
it's
you need to feel, you need to feel the guest out, because there are probably some guests that maybe if they think more ethereally, and they wouldn't be the kind of person that would have tips or tricks,
with you.
But that they still might be the kind of person that would put the 4 in order. You gotta play it by ear. So let's get to Michael Brenner. He's also got a great PDF book, a little quickie thing called The Content Formula. Calculate the ROI of content marketing and never waste money again. It's great stuff. It's really great advice, and we definitely need to get the interview. I'm saying that even though I haven't actually listened to the interview, but the stuff on his website is really good. He looks really interesting, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot out of the interview, just like you will. Do you want to do the promise statement before we go?
Well, but let me go back. Can I go back to that for just a half a second? Do you think let me just go back there just for a moment. Do you think it's a good idea to tell our listening audience, our nice guy community, our Funkin' fans, do you think it's a good idea to tell them that you haven't listened to the interview yet when we actually own the show?
Well, I'm going to listen when I actually edit it and when I air it on Wednesday. And Doug, I trust your interview skills enough to know that it's going to be a great interview.
Wow. Well, I appreciate the compliment. I think that that was as transparent as it could possibly be for you to share that you do we all know that you don't listen to most of the episodes before you actually do the editing, but you have already done the introduction?
Okay, so let's think about this in the sense of it being most efficient, right? Mm-hmm. When we do an intro for a guest, right? If I were to take, let's say, 30 minutes and listen to the interview ahead of time, right? Yep. And then we do the intro, right? Then I need to actually do the audio editing for the episode, which means I need to listen to it again. And then when it posts, I need something to listen to on my way into work. So I usually listen. Why would I want to hear it three fucking times?
So, I know they're good, but they're not that good.
Not that good.
No. And what's funny about what you're saying is that, every time we set up these interviews for us to be able to do the intros to the interviews, and again, I'm going to be really honest here and really open. I'm going to just let you answer the question. Answer it as honestly as you can, Strick. When we pull up these three names through the three recordings that we've done this week, generally, what do I say?
You say, I don't remember what we talked about. I don't remember interviewing this guy. Yes. I have no idea who the hell this person is.
Yeah. And while
you say that very often.
I do
Not
it
all the time, but often.
Often I will say, and in many cases, and this week is one of those cases where we've done the interviews now a month ago, and now we're going back and we're doing the intros. I cannot remember the interview until we start talking about it, and then I'm reading the notes, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this guy. Like in this specific case, I remember Michael. This was actually Michael was a great guest to have on the show, and so was Cam Harold, who was Monday show, and so is Kaylin, who was Friday. But in the initial, I can't remember any of these three people. I don't know.
We've talked about this before. Like we need to have like a code because, of course, we always say all the interviews are great. Right?
They are.
We know that some of them really aren't great. We still have never come up with a code of like, okay, if we use the word amazatanic, it means it really sucked, and you should just stop right now. If we use the word great, it really means it was great. But if we use supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, it means you should stop it fucking right away. So we'll have to come up with that code, and we'll put it up on just for the Patreon listeners, so they'll know which ones to listen to.
But it's what I find fascinating about what you're just saying now is that it is so subjective, because there are some interviews that I would say to you, man, I just didn't think that was the best interview. Didn't.
You've said to me before, hey, when you're editing this, you might want to clean it up and take some stuff out. I think it was kind of boring. And I'll listen to it and go, I thought it was great, because it's
or the other
something different.
Or the other way around. And sometimes I just don't know until we get there. And sometimes it's not even until I'm listening to the reaction by people that are in our community saying, wow, that was a cool episode. Now, I don't know if people are just being kind. I can't think that's the case, because I keep looking at our numbers and our numbers keep going up. So I'm thinking they either really like a shitty show or horrible guests. But it's not the case. Our guests are usually very qualified. I do a lot of pre-work. It doesn't seem like I do a lot of work ahead of time, and it certainly doesn't seem like we have any level of professionalism when we do these introductions. However, when it comes out, these guys actually, they know their shit, and they're good people, and they're good guests, and they're good people to have on the show.
So it sounds like what you're saying is we should just shut up and let Michael Brenner talk in the interview, and let our listeners decide whether it's good or not.
I think that's a valid point. So let's get to Michael Brenner. Did we do the promise statement on this episode? I think we did.
No, we didn't. We didn't tell them we're proud to be affiliated with the C-Suite Radio Network.
Well, we are proud to be affiliated with the C-Suite Radio Network. Now we've done it twice because I think we missed the other days of the week. But our promise statement is to provide a learning experience that is entertaining and adds value to your life. If we've accomplished that, or if we need to do more of that, could you let us know at DJ Doug or at Nice Guy on Biz is the way to reach out to us on Twitter, which is the easiest channel for us to communicate back and forth with you and get back to you immediately, because I check my Twitter feed about 83 times a day.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, so let's get to the interview. Michael Brenner, again, our show, The Nice Guys on Business, proud to be affiliated with the C-Suite Radio Network. On a daily basis, we're all putting content out there. And if you have a product or service to promote, the way you present your content could be the difference between success and failure. No one knows that better than our guest today, Michael Brenner. Michael is an expert in content marketing. As a matter of fact, he's written a book called The Content Formula, here to rap about ROI and making sure you never waste another penny on ineffective puking of your content. Welcome to the Nice Guys, Michael.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Have you ever had an introduction where the word puking was used in the same sentence as you?
That is definitely a first. I love it.
That's cool. That's cool. So this is really one of those topics that's kind of a hot topic for me, because how much content, where to post it, what to do with it, what channels to use, where to invest, and more importantly, where not to invest, because a lot of us don't have a lot of, a big budget or even any budget for it. Michael, how do we know? Because it really is such a confusing landscape out there.
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, one of the reasons I, do what I do and wrote the book that I did is because there's so much waste out there. And everybody's a marketer. We all watch, Super Bowl TV commercials and we think that we know what marketing is. And unfortunately, our natural instinct to want to promote our products and services the same way everyone else does leads us to this massive amounts of waste. And I feel like it's criminal, and it, keeps me up at night and wakes me up in the morning to try to help people to solve that problem.
And interestingly enough, we just had recently Jay Baer on our show, and he does a lot with customer service side of things and making sure that your message in the digital space is landed on properly. And he talked about all of the amazing things that you could do, actually showing 8 banner messages to everyone in the United States, or showing a banner message 8 times over as at the same price point as buying a 30-second spot on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
How do you know, though? Because the big thing for us is, like, how do you know what to put your money into? And you're right, it does get to be criminal because you really just don't know what to do with the money that you want to spend or invest in this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we all think we're marketers, and the way we get that education is by consuming and in many cases being frustrated by the interruptions that we receive from brands, and so then we when we start a business or we launch a product, we turn around and do the same thing that frustrates us as consumers. The effective marketers out there are doing the opposite. They think like a business person and they look at what works. You wouldn't launch a product that isn't going to sell, and so why do we do so much marketing that we know people are ignoring? It's this counterintuitive kind of thing. But that's the kind of the trick to it is to think counterintuitively, to really focus on making sure you're not wasting money trying to interrupt people with messages they don't want, and start thinking about how do you reach people in a way that you would want to be reached as a human being.
Okay, so let me put the power in your hands then. Give us a practical application of the idea that you just presented. We don't know because, like all of us, or 99.9% of us, we're ignorant to what we think we know what our customer or potential customer wants. But help me create, okay, so what's that first step? What do we do in order to really just launch this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts with a challenge to your own instinctual sort of thoughts around how to reach consumers, and what I mean by that is I think our natural instinct, and I'm a parent, so I'll tell you what do I do on Facebook? I share the most amazing pictures of my kids doing dance recitals and singing in front of their school, and pictures of us on vacation, right? We want to present ourselves in the best possible way as human beings. As marketers, we think we need to do the same thing. We need to present the best picture and describe all the amazing characteristics of the products and the businesses we create. And that's exactly what doesn't work. It's the opposite. And so what I challenge business owners and entrepreneurs to think about is, why did you start your business in the first place? Who are you helping, and what problem are you solving? Mm-hmm. And when you own the problem instead of trying to promote the solution you created, that's when marketing can really resonate with people, and that's when you break through. You're doing the opposite of what most people are doing, and that's exactly why it starts to break through.
Okay, so that's great. That's a great place to start. So can you give me an example of some? So, and let me try to present the example. So it could be, this is how my brain is working. All right. So if I'm a guy that owns a car, a mechanic, I own a car repair place, and I don't want to show the shiny new cars going off of my going off of my lot and onto the street. What do I do? Do I show a broken down car leaving my? I can't show that. I mean, so. Do I show my failures? Do I show a problematic, an example of something that happened that was just how I fixed a problem that occurred because I created the problem, or what do you imagine is the solution?
Yeah, I mean, I think you were kind of leaning into it there. It's, okay. I mean, essentially define the problem that your customers are facing that you believe you're solving. So instead of defining the solution that you've provided, define the problem. And I'm going to make it up. Maybe it's that you don't want to sit around in a greasy waiting room waiting for your car to get fixed, and you want to get in and get out, or maybe you do door-to-door service. You actually come to somebody's house and you fix it. I don't know whatever the solution is, but define the problem problem that your customers face that you then tried to solve. And I'll give you a brand example. So there's a consulting company that was, is not at the level of awareness that, Capgemini and Deloitte and Accenture, all these sort of big brands were. And this company looked at those brands and they saw that, they sponsored golfers. They put their logos on golfers' hats and sponsored, PGA golf tours. And so their initial instinct, the natural instinct of most people is to, do what their competitors are doing and slap your logo on a golfer's hat. And they thought about doing it. They looked at the massive expense that it would take. And then they thought, that doesn't actually help anybody. So what if we created, a content platform, essentially a corporate blog that starts to speak to the audience we're trying to reach with the problems that they're facing and help them with the expertise that we have instead of just promoting ourselves on the side of a bus or a golfer's hat. And for a fraction of the cost of doing, a PGA golf sponsorship, they created this massive impact because what they did was they owned the problem. They shared their expertise, not who they were or what they sold or why they were better. They just shared what they knew and tried to own the problem that their customers were facing and help them through, sort of the navigation process that we all go through when we have a problem to solve. And in return, they ended up growing their business. So, what's counterintuitive about it is that if you focus on trying to push your business, that's the worst way to actually drive growth. If you focus on trying to help your customers, that's the best way to drive the business growth that we're all looking for.
When you say something like that in trying to resolve their problems, I always envision getting one of your customers actually, to do a Facebook Live instead of you being on there. Have a raw story of somebody that had a problem and came to you and you resolved it. It's almost like social proof. I keep hearing that catchphrase, I guess, over and over again. Social proof is the new marketing, and really that's how you promote your product. Is that parallel to your idea, or is that against the idea that you're talking about?
No, it's absolutely consistent with what I'm trying to say. And it's interesting because I was just meeting with somebody yesterday who was spending a really big chunk of money on what they called customer testimonials. And it was a standard talking head video. They would, throw a camera in front of a customer and say, tell us about what problem you had and why you chose us. And, what I was advising them was don't ask them why they chose you. Just talk about who they are. Have the person, like a Facebook Live video is a great example. Have them talk about who they are. We want to interact with real people. So have that person profile them, interview them, have them talk about the problems they faced, the journey they went on, the results they achieved by choosing a solution. They don't have to mention your product. You're presenting them as an example of someone that solved this problem with your product. You don't have to overly promote it. And so it's a great example, but it's one that so many of us do, I think in the wrong way.
Well, and it's again, it's why I think, in my opinion, and maybe because I'm in this space, I see it so clearly. It's why podcasts work so well, because somebody that comes on this show, you as the example in this particular case, and we talked about this a little bit in the pre-interview, and I'm not giving away anything that my nice guy community doesn't already know, because we chat about this a couple of times a week. We have just the two, my host and my co-host and myself are on, and we do talk about if we get our audience to fall in love with our guests, no matter what our guest provides, service, product, whatever, they're going to patronize they're going to buy the stuff that our guests provide. Mm-hmm. It's when you start to puke product all the time. Mm-hmm. Let me go back to the intro for a second. It's when you start to puke product, it becomes an infomercial, and it becomes, I just don't want to be pitched. I mean, that's just BS. I don't want to hear that. I just want somebody, just have a real conversation with me. I think that's why, I think it's Ford does these commercials where real people, they show the real people, and they're in the like the showroom, and they open up the showroom. And it's like, I was talking about your real car. This is a real person. Mm-hmm. I think that those that testimonial thing works really well when you do deal with the real life person. And it sounds like you agree with that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's actually Chevy. And I talk about that all the time. yeah, exactly.
So part of what you do, you kind of walk this great line between content marketing pro and a leadership expert as well. And a lot of the stuff that I was reading and hearing about you and doing the research, it's interesting that you walk those two lines, because there really is a lot of parallels between content marketing and leadership as well. Being a great leader is knowing how to market yourself properly to your audience or to your market. Do you see it that way, or are these just two parallel lines for you?
No, they're definitely not parallel. They're totally related. And part of the reason I unintentionally ended up speaking about leadership is, I wrote the book, The Content Formula, because the biggest challenge I was getting from, in many cases, senior marketers about this somewhat counterintuitive, customer-focused, empathetic approach to marketing. Originally, it was, where's what's the ROI? And so I wrote the book to try to solve that problem very clearly, very simply for anyone that might, have that sort of objection. And it typically came, and you can just imagine a kind of an old, gray-haired guy sitting behind a big desk with his arms folded, asking, where's the, show me the money. When I answered that question, and I can do it in a talk track in about 5 minutes, what I realized is that didn't actually resolve the problem. The real problem was a lack of leadership, a lack of courage to really put the customer first and to push messages that are helpful over promotional. And so it's a leadership gap. And so that led me into this real journey that I'm still on today in trying to solve for entrepreneurs and leaders of how do you resist our own natural tendencies to want to promote ourselves. And the reason we should is because it's the best way to drive better results. It's the best way to deliver growth for your career and for your life and for your company is to sort of start to think differently. And so that's why I think they're completely related.
Well, so share with the Nice Guy community how empathy and compassion work in the world of leadership, because I think this is a little counter thinking of old school philosophy of running a business. Many would say that being nice or kind. I mean, I wrote a book called Nice Guys Finish First, so I'm definitely a believer in nice and empathy and gratitude and all of that as a way to build a business. But many would say that being nice or kind is potentially a sign of weakness, a luxury that mediocre leaders can't afford to show. So, can you just talk about that for a second?
I mean, I could talk about it for an hour, but so I'm trying to think of a few nuggets. So number one is there's one thing I call the leadership paradox, and the leadership paradox is kind of what you were saying, is that I think we have a natural tendency to be drawn to people who appear confident, even though they may not be very nice, and so that's something we have to resist. Number one, it is a paradox because the people that we have that natural tendency to think are great leaders tend to be the worst kind of leaders, because they don't put you ahead of themselves. And so there's arrogance there. The second thing, and there's a lot of studies by Gallup that show that, a shockingly low number of people love what they do. And it's in some cases, it's the single digits. I did my own survey and I found that only 8% of people love their jobs. Wow. Only 8% of people say that they love their jobs. And on the other hand, 50% of people say that they absolutely hate their jobs.
Wow. It's crazy.
And, so I started trying to answer this question, and Gallup says that the key to employee engagement is having a manager who seems to care about you. And I kind of challenge that assumption because I don't think that goes far enough. And so the assumption that I'm challenging, or the hypothesis that I made and starting to show and prove out, not just with research, but also with a lot of case studies, is that it's not enough to care as a manager about your employees. You have to actually champion them. You have to listen to the ideas that they have. You have to encourage them to present new ideas in the first place, and actually champion them throughout the organization, and try to resist that culture, sort of element that we talked about earlier. So that's the journey that I'm on, and that's kind of it wasn't a second, but in maybe 20 seconds, a high level overview of what the champion leadership model might look like.
No, it's great. And you did show many of the parallels between that and the content world as well, because there are a huge amount of parallels. And Priscilla McKinney, who introduced us from Little Bird Marketing, she was right on the money. You definitely know your stuff. I want to take a slight sharp turn here for a second and just talk about some things that I think that our hardcore fans, we call them our Funkin' fans in the community, in the Nice Guy community, they like action, because one of the things that they're most outspoken about is, we love the show and we listen to a bunch of podcasts. A lot of people that listen to this show listen to a bunch of other podcasts too. But we don't get enough action items from the other shows that we listen to. And so we made it a little bit of a goal of ours to, every show we want to make sure we put some level of action. So I have this section in the program called Tools, Tips, and Tricks, and it became a blog of mine that then started coming over to the show. So I'm going to put you a little on the spot here, and I don't mean to do it, but I've just only been recently introducing these questions. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions. If you want to take a pass on any of them, I will not slight you for it, but I have a feeling you'll probably be able to soar through all three of these anyway. Can I hit you with them?
Absolutely. I'm game. Let's do it.
Okay, great. So I want to start with a tool. Is there a piece of technology that you think that would be advantageous for everybody that's listening to the show today to at least to take advantage of a tool, a technology tool?
Yeah, there's two actually. One is a somewhat small fee, and the other one is totally free. And they're actually created by two friends over in the UK, so they're kind of related. But the first one is BuzzSumo, BuzzSumo. What BuzzSumo does, and you can get I think 20 results for free, and then you have to start to pay. But if you're in a business, go to BuzzSumo.com, type in the category of the solution that you sell, and what BuzzSumo will do is it will tell you all of the most shared pieces of content around that topic. It'll also, if you pay for it, it'll tell you who are the most influential people in the space that are sharing content about that topic. What it does is it forces you to think, if you're creating content in any way for your business, it forces you to think, how do I also create content that people will actually opt to share? Not how do you promote it or pay to get it out there, but how do you create something that other people will volunteer to share to their audiences? And BuzzSumo can help you to start to think that way. And then a related tool, and like I said, it's started by a guy named Steve Rayson, who's a really great guy over in the UK. And his best friend started a free service called Answer the Public. So answerthepublic.com. And it's similar. You can type in a keyword. So I would recommend type in, if you're a used car salesman, type in used cars. So, you can use whatever example you have. It'll tell you all of the questions people ask of their search engines, all in a visual mapped kind of way. So it'll tell you who, what, when, where, why, how, and sort of what is kind of questions around the thing that you sell, not the actual product, but the category of the solution. And so back to where we started this, it essentially tells you what questions people are asking most in their search engines. You as the business owner, you as the entrepreneur, have the answers to those questions. And so those two tools can help you define, I think, a great approach to solving the kind of marketing conundrum we're all in.
Oh, that's great. Those are great. And I'm going to check both of those out as soon as we get off this interview, because those are both things that I think could be very helpful in running my business as well. All right. How about an action item? Something quick, easy that somebody could actually put into place if they wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to do that thing that Michael was talking about.
I'm going to give you two again, if I'm allowed, if you'll indulge me. So one is something to not do, and one is something to do. So the first thing every business owner should do is go and look at the last, 6 months or a year of stuff that you've done, and you don't have to make it really mathematical or totally analytical, but just even in your gut, define what didn't work and stop doing it. And it's amazing to me. I've done this with CMOs where I've gone into a CRM application and asked them to pull a report and rank it from low to high on any result. 20, 30, 40, 50% of the marketing campaigns that they pulled up had zero results. I'm like, there's an idea. Stop doing all of those things that didn't drive any results. You look at all the money that you're spending on this stuff that doesn't work. So that would be one thing. And then the thing to do, so that's the thing to stop doing. The thing to do, I would say then is look around your organizations. If you're a one-person entrepreneur, maybe go find other entrepreneurs. If you have a team of people that are working for you, look around and really try to find someone who has a passion and an idea that they think could really help you innovate, and do everything you can to mentor and champion those innovative ideas. And it's something I think, as entrepreneurs, I try to do it every single week. I try to, Jay Baer's actually somebody, talk about a nice guy, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And he's somebody I've reached out to in the past and asked, like, hey, do you have any really big ideas that you don't have time to implement, but you think might help, the kind of people that we're trying to reach? So that would be the thing to do is look for an idea from someone who maybe needs a champion and a mentor, and actually help them drive that idea to conclusion.
That's awesome. And I love the idea of taking your level of expertise and going to somebody like Jay or somebody that's just a bigwig in the business world, and just saying, I know you have, and all of these guys who are entrepreneurs, they all have these ideas. I mean, we're not short of ideas, we're short of time.
Yeah.
So it's like, they have some that are just kind of off in their right brain somewhere, and they would say, hey, this would be really great if I get somebody to do this. And when you call them and say, you've got an idea, but you almost have to help them, because you have to tell them, I'm a guy that wants to put your idea into play. Just give me an idea and let me run with it.
Exactly.
Interesting. All right. This might be a little bit more of a challenging one, but I'm going to throw it at you anyway, because you've done so well on these first two. Is there a life or a mind hack that you do on a regular basis? Like for me, I'll just give you my example. I wake up every morning, I earn my coffee, meaning I earn my coffee because I have to do 10 minutes of yoga and 10 minutes of meditation. And I've been meditating for the last almost 2 years now. I can't have my coffee unless I do that. So my life hack to getting fit mentally and physically is to actually do those things to get a reward. Is there any life hack like that you go through?
No, it's a great question, and unfortunately, my answer is similar. And so I actually have some note cards on my desk, and I do the exact same thing. I won't drink my coffee, and it's basically it's 10 deep breaths. I do sort of a quick sun salutation of yoga, so I don't do a full hour, but it's about 10 minutes.
Yeah, I do 10 minutes too. I'm saying,
and then I write down the one thing I want to get done for the day. And you know, on my sort of notebook, I write down the one thing that has to get done, the priority for the day. And then the last thing I do is I try to pick a theme for you know, my thinking. And you know, some days it's, you know, I want to laugh today. Some days it's I got to be serious and get some serious shit done. But you know, I try to set the mood based on, you know, where I'm at and where I need to go.
Oh, that's great. I love that life hack. And I love the, write one goal for your day. I don't do that one. And I think that's one that I probably should spend a little bit of time doing that too. I write these task lists, and, you know, I'm looking at like 7 of them right now from the last 7 days. Mm-hmm. I should throw them out, but I like the feeling of accomplishment when I can get to the end of the week and start looking at the list and, oh my gosh, I crossed off like 80 things on this, on this list. So for me, it's good. Okay. So take off your content marketing and leadership expert hat for a second and put your entrepreneur hat on. I'm going to ask you a couple of rapid fire questions. Just again, give me your knee-jerk response to these questions. Here we go. So be relatable. Michael, what do you suck at?
Being funny.
I think you're a funny guy.
My kids, I told you I got 4 kids, and every single day they all tell me how unfunny I am.
Oh, well, that's our kids. You know, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. First of all, your kids tell you, you believe it, and therefore it is, and then you're not funny. So it is. It comes to reality right there. But no, I think Priscilla does not know unfunny people. So I know that she introduced me to somebody funny. Be transparent. How did you pay your bills when you first got going?
Oh, geez. With blood, sweat, and tears every single day. It was definitely my first couple of years out of school. I put myself through school, and it was rough. I had a spreadsheet. I was tracking every single dollar. Ramen noodles were a big part of my budget plan for the first couple of years.
At 52, I'm still tracking every cent that I spend. My wife hates when I do that. She does not like to live on a budget. She makes her own money. I mean, she probably makes more money than I do. But I like to. I don't know, if for no other reason other than just I like to see where I can cut back. I think it's like for me, it's a game. I like that.
Yeah.
Be confident. What do you do as an entrepreneur that's as good as it gets?
What do I do that's as good as it gets? So I think I'm relatable, kind of back to your first question. One of the things that most people, and I'll tell you a really quick story. I was presenting at a conference a few years ago, and I was walking down the street. I was working at SAP at the time. And I was walking down the street to one of the events after sort of conference cocktail parties, and I met this nice woman, and she said, you know, it's really great to meet an executive from SAP. And I was like, oh, really? Who did you meet? And she's like, you. I'm talking about you. I was like, oh, and she's like, you're really, you know, personable and relatable. It's refreshing. So I take a lot of pride in trying to be real and relatable and personable and not be a jerk.
No, and you totally you're the anti-jerk, so everything's good. Be humble. What experts do you need to call upon to make shit happen when shit's just not going down properly?
Yeah, well, you know, Jay's a great one. I mean, he's one of the first sort of social rock stars that I met, and I actually had told him at the end of that meeting, and I know a number of them, and I said, I think you're the nicest guy in this social media world because he's just such a great guy. I mean, he's definitely number one. Ann Handley is also one of those people who was, you know, really kind of early in the social media world, a great speaker, and one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. I actually have one of my note cards on my desk is actually some advice I got from Ann about my writing style. So those are 2 people I would definitely rely on.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm going to give you 4 words. Put them in priority order if you could. And I know that there's no right answer, no wrong answer. It's just however you would put them. And I think you're going to swim through this pretty easily. So put these into priority order. The first one being the biggest priority: employees, customers, products, systems?
So definitely customers, employees, systems, products.
All right. And just curious, and again, no right answer, no wrong answer. Why customers first?
Well, it's back to I think the theme of this whole conversation is when you put your customers first and help them, you help your business. And when you put your business first, your customers see right through that, and they want to walk away. We want to walk away from people that only care about themselves.
Yeah, very true. Very true. All right. If you had to pick a song title that represented your life, Michael, do you have one offhand?
Renegade.
Oh, nice. Nice. Now, why Renegade? You totally would. I would see like you're like the guy that wears the white shirt with the red tie, or the white shirt with the purple tie, or something like that as you're walking into the office, not the guy that's wearing the skull and crossbones. Well, yeah, I'm kind of like James Bond. I'm a secret assassin when it comes to bad ideas. I think mama's boy face and apple pie, kind of approach. But I think my mission in life is to help people focus on doing stuff that really matters and has an impact. And when I see people doing things that are just a waste of time, or doing things because their boss told them to, what kind of life is that? It upsets me to see it. And so, I've really, in a lot of ways, diplomatically and professionally, have resisted and pushed back and been a renegade, I think, in those ways, and helped others and trying to help others now to do that same thing. Well, as I like to say, after 30 years of self-employment, hopefully by this point in my life, I'm gainfully unemployable. I'm not looking for anybody to hire me. Hopefully, I've screwed up my resume so well that nobody would want to put me on board, on a permanent basis. And Michael, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you to find out more about your services and offer you some money to come and show them what you do, how would they get to you?
Yeah, I mean, just the typical social channels: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. My Twitter account is @BrennerMichael. @Michael Brenner was already taken, so I'm @BrennerMichael on Twitter. Okay. Or check out my website, marketinginsidergroup.com, and you can email me there as well.
Hey, I like your blog. And again, as I say to a lot of people that come on the show, it's easy for me just when I can do a little bump and run, I can just pick a little piece of a blog and read about it. But you don't write nearly enough. You don't. I want to subscribe to a newsletter that's written almost every day. Can you find a guy that does that?
You're joking.
No, it's challenging, isn't it? It's really challenging to write.
Yeah.
To any degree like that, especially when you have this other thing called a job that you're trying to do. Your content is everything.
Yeah,
I really feel that way.
Yep.
Terrific. Well, Nice Guy community. Never underestimate the power of Nice. Again, Michael, thank you so much for being a guest and being part of a new part of the community. Hopefully, we have a new listener to the show. So thanks for being here today.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan.
Oh, excellent. Okay, Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
You've put enough in little Johnny's 529. Now, it's time to really help out someone in need. The Nice Guys on Business need your support. Please go to patreon.com, and for as little as $2 a month, you can help these guys continue to ramble on and on and on, week after week after week. Thank you for your support. And boy, is it weak.